Hello everyone, and welcome to How-FixIT. If your iPhone 17 frame is bent or warped after a drop, your screen or back glass won't sit flush, you see gaps around the edges, the phone feels twisted, or buttons and internal parts don't line up properly anymore, this video is for you. In this step-by-step guide, I'll show you how to fully disassemble the iPhone 17 and transfer your components into the new frame, reassemble everything correctly, and finish with new sealing adhesive to restore water protection and proper alignment. For this repair, you'll need a precision screwdriver set, plastic pry tools, tweezers, a suction cup, and a screen disassembly tool, which are all essential for safely opening an iPhone. You'll need a 9-volt battery with 2 wires and clamps to remove the battery. To restore water resistance, you'll also need adhesive sealing tape. I've included links to all the tools and replacement parts in the video description below. For the best results, I highly recommend using a magnetic mat to organize screws and small parts during disassembly. The iPhone 17 has dozens of screws in different sizes, and a magnetic mat keeps everything secure and helps you put each screw back in the correct place during reassembly. Let's begin by accessing the internals through the back glass. Remove the 2 screws flanking the USB-C port at the bottom of the iPhone. Next, place your iPhone face down and use a regular hairdryer or heat gun to warm the bottom of the back glass until it's slightly uncomfortable to touch but not burning hot. Heat the back glass for about 2 minutes with a hairdryer or up to 90 degrees Celsius, 194 degrees Fahrenheit, with a heat gun. The goal is to soften the adhesive holding the back glass to the middle frame. Once heated, place your suction cup on the lower portion of the back glass and pull up on the suction cup handle with steady pressure to create a small gap between the back glass and the frame. Insert a thin pry tool in the gap and carefully separate the glass from the frame. If no gap appears, apply more heat or add a small drop of isopropyl alcohol to the gap between the frame and the glass. Then try again. To maintain the temperature of the heated glass, remember to periodically warm its surface as you work. As you work around the phone, never insert your pry tool deeper than 3 mm. This is crucial because there are delicate components close to the edges, including a cable near the volume buttons and multiple spring contacts around the entire perimeter. At the top edge, the back glass is held by 2 hinges. When you reach them, push the back glass slightly downward to release the hinges. Carefully swing the back glass open toward the right side of the iPhone, like opening a book. You'll now see the battery connector cover secured by 2 small screws. Remove the 2 screws securing the battery connector cover, then use your tweezers to remove this cover. With your plastic spudger, carefully pry up and disconnect both the battery and back glass press connectors. Now you can fully remove the back glass from the phone. To remove the battery on the iPhone 17, you'll need a 9-volt battery with 2 wires and clamps. First, gently peel back the silver adhesive tab on the battery using tweezers. Connect the red wire to the positive terminal and the black wire to the negative terminal of the 9-volt battery. Clip the black negative lead to the lower right grounding screw on the bottom speaker. Then clip the red positive lead to the silver adhesive tab on the battery. Make sure the red clip makes contact with this silver point on the tab. Hold a steady connection for 1 minute and 30 seconds. The connection must stay solid for the adhesive to release. If the battery doesn't release, the most common causes are an unstable 9-volt source. The battery may be weak and needs replacing, or poor contact between the adhesive tabs and your wire clamps. Use a suction cup to lift the battery and remove it from the iPhone. On the back of the battery, there is an electrically released adhesive. If you are going to reuse this adhesive, do not place the battery on this side. If it's damaged, I've included a link to replacement adhesive tape in the video description below. Remove the 4 screws securing the connector bracket. Disconnect the 2 ribbon cables and lift out the Face ID module. Remove the 6 screws securing the top speaker. Disconnect the cable, then remove the speaker. Remove the 3 screws securing the rear camera module. Disconnect the 2 cables and lift the camera out of the iPhone. Remove the 2 screws securing the metal bracket and the 2 screws securing the Taptic engine. Disconnect the Taptic engine cable and remove the module. Remove the 5 screws securing the bottom speaker, then remove the module. Remove the screws securing the SIM card reader module, and disconnect the cable from the logic board to remove it. If your iPhone 17 is eSIM only, you will have a spacer instead of a SIM card reader. Remove the screws securing the main microphone and disconnect its cable. The main microphone is glued to the iPhone chassis. Use tweezers to carefully separate it from the chassis. Now we can remove the logic board, but 2 display cables are connected to the board from the back. To safely remove the board, we'll first remove the display. Place your iPhone face up and apply heat at the bottom of the display with your hairdryer or heat gun. The display adhesive requires heat to soften. If you use a heat gun, set it to 90 degrees Celsius, 194 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature is safe for the screen. Once heated, place your suction cup near the bottom edge of the display and pull up with steady force. Insert a thin blade to create a gap, then insert your opening pick into the gap and work around the perimeter of the iPhone. Remember to warm up each side of the display separately. This is important for successful separation of the screen from the chassis. As you slice through the display adhesive, do not insert your pick deeper than 3 mm. There are 2 delicate cables connecting the screen to the iPhone, one just above the action button on the left side and another about halfway along the left edge. There are also multiple spring contacts around the perimeter. Take your time and reapply heat if the adhesive becomes difficult to slice. At the top edge, the display is held by 2 hinges. When you reach them, push the display slightly downward to release the hinges. Once all adhesive is separated, swing the display open toward the left side of the iPhone, but do not rush. It is still connected to the main board. Remove the screws securing the bracket over the display and front sensor connectors. Carefully disconnect the cables and remove the display. Now we can return to the logic board. Disconnect all the cables and remove the 3 screws securing the main board to the iPhone chassis. The logic board should now be free to remove. Now we'll remove the flex cable with the USB-C charging port. Unscrew all the screws securing the flex cable to the iPhone chassis. Since the flex cable is glued to the chassis, use a hairdryer to heat it up, then pry it away from the chassis from underneath. Peel the USB-C flex cable from the chassis and place it aside. Ensure that the two grounding clips are still intact. If they have fallen off or shifted, use tweezers to reposition them. Next, we'll remove the antenna cable. Don't forget to warm up the cable as it is glued to the chassis. Remove the 4 screws holding the action and volume buttons flex cable to the chassis, then gently detach and remove it. If your action or volume button isn't working, replacing this cable should restore them. Disconnect the flex cable from the chassis, then remove the screw covers. Remove the screws securing the side button and camera control button flex cable to the chassis. Disconnect the small camera control contact lead from the main button flex. Do this slowly to avoid tearing the cable. Now you can remove the flexible cable that contains the side button and camera control button mechanisms. However, the camera control button sensor is welded to the chassis, making it extremely difficult to transfer it to the new chassis. Therefore, I recommend a replacement enclosure with a pre-installed camera control button sensor. In addition, the touch-sensitive part of the camera control button is paired to your Apple ID. When replacing the enclosure assembly, calibration using Repair Assistant may be required. I'll cover this later during testing. You now have a completely bare chassis. Before transferring components to your new frame, both the old damaged frame and the new frame need proper preparation. First, examine the new chassis. Ensure all threaded screw holes are clear and all mounting points are intact. Check that all spring contact points are present and undamaged. If the new chassis does not have springs, transfer them from the old chassis to the new one. Now you know how to remove any iPhone module. If one of the modules is damaged, you can replace it. All links to iPhone 17 parts are in the video description below. However, keep in mind that replacing modules such as the display, battery, front or rear camera, rear glass, or logic board requires calibration using Repair Assistant. This process is very simple, but it is necessary for the device to function properly. I'll cover this after reassembly during the first boot and testing. Before beginning assembly, take a short break. This will help maintain concentration and precision during the final steps. Now we'll reverse the disassembly process, installing each component into your new frame. Work carefully and methodically. Step 1. Install the side button and camera control button flex cable. Place the flex into the new chassis and route it exactly like it was in the original frame. Make sure the flex sits flat in every channel and isn't twisted. Reconnect the small camera control contact lead to the main button flex. Reinstall any screw covers and brackets exactly as they were, then tighten screws snug but not too hard. Step 2. Install the action and volume buttons flex cable. Lay the flex into its place along the side frame, then reinstall the 4 mounting screws in their original locations. Before moving on, press each external button. They should click evenly and not feel mushy. If a button sticks, the flex is usually misaligned or caught under an edge. Fix it now, not later. Step 3. Install the antenna flex cable. Position the antenna cable in the same place as the original. If the antenna is adhesive backed, warm the chassis slightly with a hairdryer so it lays down smoothly and bonds evenly. Step 4. Install the USB-C port assembly. Make sure the two grounding clips are present and seated correctly. Place the USB-C charging port flex into its pocket and ensure the USB-C port sits perfectly centered in the opening. Reinstall all screws using the correct lengths. This area often mixes screw sizes. If a screw feels like it bottoms out too early or never tightens, stop and verify you're using the right screw in the right hole. Step 5. Install the logic board. This is the most delicate step. Position the logic board at its proper angle and lower it into place. Secure the logic board with all of its original screws in their correct positions. Remember, different screw lengths go in specific locations. Work slowly, stay organized, and never force a connector. Most reassembly failures come from three things: wrong screws, misaligned press connectors, and pinched flex cables. Step 6. Install the SIM card tray assembly. If your model has a SIM reader module, set it into place and reinstall the screws. If it's an eSIM only model, install the spacer exactly as it came out. If the connector looks even slightly crooked, disconnect and redo it now. This is one of the most common causes of no service after reassembly. Step 7. Install the display. Reconnect the display cables to the logic board, but do not reinstall the brackets onto the connectors, as we will be removing the screen again after the test to restore water resistance. Step 8. Install the main microphone. Place the microphone back into position. If it was glued originally, add a small amount of appropriate adhesive or reuse the existing adhesive if it's still tacky and clean. Reconnect the microphone cable and reinstall screws. Step 9. Install the bottom speaker. Position the bottom speaker assembly in its housing and secure it with screws. Step 10. Install the Taptic engine. Place the Taptic engine into its recess and secure it with its mounting screws. The Taptic engine must sit flat and aligned with the frame. Step 11. Install the rear camera. Place the rear camera module into position and align it carefully before tightening screws. Fasten the screws, then connect the camera press connectors straight down until they click. After installing, use a dust blower to remove dust from the camera lenses and nearby board area. Step 12. Install the top speaker. Place the top speaker assembly into its position and reconnect the cable, then install all mounting screws. Step 13. Install the front camera. Place the front camera assembly into its recess and connect both press connectors. Install the protective bracket over the connectors and secure it with the screws. Step 14. Install the battery. If the battery's electroadhesion tape is still in good condition, you can reuse it. If it's damaged, I've included a link to replacement adhesive tape in the video description below. Place the battery back into the iPhone housing and route the cable so the connector lines up cleanly with the logic board socket. Step 15. Install the back glass. Reconnect the back glass cable and the battery cable to the logic board, then power on the iPhone to test that everything works properly. After the first boot, check basic functions such as Face ID, the display, and the touchscreen. If you replaced any modules such as the enclosure, battery, display, front or rear camera, open Settings, then select General, and then the About section. Look for parts and service history. Open it and follow the calibration prompts. Next, check the speakers and every microphone using voice memos, plus both front and rear-facing video. Check all buttons: volume, action, side button, and camera control. Confirm Wi-Fi, Bluetooth cellular, and charging through USB-C, wireless charging, and vibration. Test the cameras and flash. If you notice gaps, dust in the camera, a weak signal, or anything not working properly, reopen the iPhone and reseat the connectors, reroute the flex cables, and make sure the correct screws and brackets are installed. Once everything passes, let's restore water resistance. Open the iPhone again and disconnect the battery and rear glass cables. I recommend covering the camera lens with a protective sticker to keep dust and debris off the glass. If you don't have one, just be extra careful and avoid touching the lens while you work. Remove the old adhesive tape from the iPhone's frame. Once the iPhone is opened, the adhesive tape loses its sealing properties and can no longer protect your device from water and dust. We'll replace it with new waterproof sealing tape to restore dust and moisture protection. Just keep in mind this won't bring the phone back to factory water resistance, so it's best not to submerge it after the repair. If you don't have new adhesive tape ready, it's better to leave the old tape in place until you're prepared to replace it. Clean the perimeter of the frame where adhesive will be applied. Use a cotton swab cloth with isopropyl alcohol to wipe away any oils or debris. Then let it air dry completely. You'll also need to remove all old adhesive from your back glass or display. The surfaces must be completely clean for new adhesive to bond properly. Carefully align the new adhesive along the edges of the frame and make sure it sits evenly all the way around. Press it down around the entire perimeter using a plastic tool so it bonds securely. Then peel off the protective liner to expose the adhesive surface and continue with reassembly. Reconnect the back glass and battery cables to the logic board, then reinstall the bracket and secure it with the 2 screws. Please note that the bracket has 3 loops that must fit into their grooves on the main board before you tighten the 2 screws. Carefully position the back glass over the frame and press down, starting at one edge and working across. Apply firm, even pressure around the entire perimeter to ensure strong adhesive contact. Now that we're done with the rear glass, let's return to the display. Remove the display again and disconnect the cables from the main board. Before installing the display, we need to apply new adhesive. This will restore protection from moisture and dust. However, if you don't have the new adhesive tape on hand, it's best to leave the old tape in place until you're ready to replace it. Use a cotton swab dipped in isopropyl alcohol to clean any remaining residue from the frame. Take your display adhesive tape and carefully align the tape with the edges of the frame, ensuring proper placement. Press down along the perimeter using a plastic spudger to secure it firmly. Once the tape is applied, peel off the top liner, then use a plastic spatula to press it again around the entire perimeter to securely fix the tape. Remove the final protective liner from the adhesive to expose the side that will bond to the display. Reconnect the display and sensor connectors, replace the bracket, and tighten the screw. Before closing the phone, use a blower to remove dust from the front camera and lens. Now, carefully position your display over the frame and press down, starting from one edge and working across. Apply firm, even pressure around the entire perimeter to ensure good adhesive contact. Finally, reinstall the 2 screws near the charging port to finish assembly. If you found this guide helpful, please like this video and subscribe to How-FixIT for more detailed repair tutorials. Visit our website for more insights and do-it-yourself guides. Remember, every tech challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.